Live, Matt. This is Evan Matthews, CEO at Macroverse, sitting here with Matt Stevens, celebrating the launch of your Kickstarter today. Why don't we just jump right in? Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about the story. But let's start with you. Like anyone that doesn't know you and your work, like, who are you?
Well, hello, Evan. I am, I'm Matt Stevens. I'm an art teacher, and I've been doing that for 20 something years, high school. And I've been professionally illustrating for 25 years. And so I make art, I talk about art, I teach art. It all sort of does this. All my day is just all circling around it, and it's awesome. I love it. I picked right. I started making comics probably 6 years ago, and started an imprint with my buddy Alex Robnet called Dark Web Comics. And we have a flagship story that we're working on that's going to be wrapping up in the fall called Digital Pools. It's a very, very cool sci-fi story that Alex wrote and I draw. That's our collab, and that's very fun. Any artist out there, I just highly recommend collaborating with somebody on something. There's, you got to find the right person, but when you do, it really is greater than the sum of its parts, because there's two brains feeding into this one thing. So, definitely consider it. For the longest time, I was not in that mindset. I was it's my thing. It's just going to be my thing. But anyway, Digital Pools is a great collaboration. A lot of fun. I think you'd really enjoy that. The comic I'm talking about today and that launched this morning on Kickstarter is called Panopticon.
Yes.
And Panopticon is a graphic novel. Originally, I was going to do issues. So it was originally drawn as issues, but I've always loved the trade. I've always loved the larger story where you get all, a whole story arc in one book. So you can pick it up, read it, and by the time you finish, you have reached the end of that arc. So I've always enjoyed that. And so that's what this is. Panopticon is the first story in a 3-part trilogy. I love a trilogy. And I designed it so that this first book really only takes place in one room called the Panopticon. And for those of you that don't know, a Panopticon is a single-chambered prison. Actually, this is a real thing too. They're not in use anymore, but they were for a while. It never really caught on. Because you'll see why in a second. But it's a single-chambered prison. The center has a big tower, and the tower can see the entire prison. So you can imagine guards in the center tower looking out from all the windows, and see into everybody's cell. So there is no privacy for the inmates. And furthermore, some of the Panopticons would black out the windows and backlight the cells, so that just using lighting, so that the prisoners couldn't even see if there was a guard there. So it was this form of control where you're not even really sure if you're being watched, but you assume that you are. And that idea just kind of stuck with me. I heard the word Panopticon on a podcast. I didn't know what it was. I looked it up, and the idea wasn't there fully formed, but I did get this image of a Panopticon prison, and I was like looking for an idea for a story that I could do, and it just kind of popped. It was kind of there 60% of the way. And so this story follows an inmate who newly arrives at the prison, and he has no memory of how he got there. He comes to find out that the other 6 inmates also have no memory of how they get there. So there's a bit of a mystery box element to the story. and he has to navigate the prison. He has to navigate the codes of the prison that he has to quickly navigate the codes of the prison, and find out how to survive in this place. Um, it's everything's fine until it isn't, uh, and they have very strict things that they need to do every day. There's very few of them, but they have to do them, and it is an escape story. All prison stories, you gotta at least tease the idea of escape. So, do they escape? You'll have to read it to find out. Um, I will say that there are. I designed it almost like a play because it's just one room, and I like this idea of the entire thing happening on one stage. So it's one room panopticon. Um, but then Act Two, the next graphic novel that's coming out in uh, late summer, which is 3 of the 4 issues are done, so it's getting close to being done. That is in the same world with the same characters, but the lens opens wider, and you actually see you get a little bit more of the story. There's a story shift and twist, and I think you'll like the surprise. The third act is coming out. I'll start that this fall, and that'll come out in 2027. And I'm planning another shift. So
Yeah.
I've always liked stories that shift on you, that
Surprise you. Yeah.
surprise you, and the lens widens up, and you're like, oh, I see, and
Yeah.
you can kind of go back and read, and yeah. So that's me. That's Panopticon, and that's Dark Web Comics.
That's awesome. Well, actually,
Yeah.
we've known each other for a little while now, and I've been a observer and somewhat participant in some pieces of the journey, and very excited about this. As I understand it from us talking, and this may not be technically the first thing that you've written yourself, but it's kind of the first real thing. Kind of, is that a fair assessment of it?
100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the
So,
first thing that went anywhere. Yeah.
So while you started with, everyone go find a collaborator, this project is kind of you distilled in, like, this was a story that you felt like you said captured your imagination, is a story that you kind of had to tell. And I think, there is kind of both sides of that coin, because, for myself as well, it's like, I've collaborators that I love working with, and like you, I always feel like the sum of the parts is greater than the not having that. But there are other things which I get personally obsessed by, and it's like there's also something interesting about seeing something that is truly just like how much of myself, my vision, my creativity, my talent, whatever level, whatever that may be, like how much of that can I get out of me into some format to share it with somebody else. And so, for you, and that kind of flip side, it's like you kind of get the best of both worlds working on both of these projects. But what was that kind of adjustment like? And I guess, you didn't just decide like I'm making an issue. You decided I'm making hundreds of pages to tell this story. So like, this first book, it's, how many pages is the first volume?
The one on Kickstarter now is 88 pages.
88 pages. Yeah. So you're talking, 250 pages basically by the time the whole story is done. So I mean, that's a legit, like, full size, more than full size graphic novel. So as you were kind of getting your head around this, like, I mean, you have the talent and the ability to do it, but what made you kind of just go like, I'm all in, I got to go through, I got to do 300 pages or 250 pages, to get this story out, and not even waiting. I mean, I think it's one of the cool things for people considering backing the Kickstarter. Like, book one is done, like 100% done, like it'll get backed and then it'll go to print and then you're going to get it. And then book two is, all but done. So when that Kickstarter launches, it'll get backed, it'll go to print, and then you're going to get it. And I assume, the same thing will be true for volume 3. So this is going to be a little bit different than a lot of Kickstarters in that,
Yeah.
you know, it really is just like, this is a kind of like pre-orders with rewards, as opposed to like, we need you to, you know, make this book. It's made. So I guess there's a couple questions in there. Like, you know, one, like it's ambitious to me. And I think in a way where if we were in person, I would be like patting you on the back here. Cause I think, you know, there's a level of commitment to just deciding like, I'm going to do this and then seeing it through to this level before even really announcing it, you know, or talking about it. So it's kind of like, you know, you've got a child that you've created and no one's seen it until it's going to school or something, you know?
Yeah. There was a lot of that feeling of like, you know, imposter syndrome, really just sort of wavering between complete narcissism and imposter syndrome, you know, and once in a while I'd have a midpoint, but usually it was just, who the hell do I think I am? And, you know, get out of my way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the questions in there was, and I guess I didn't underline this well enough. What part of the impetus for Panopticon was that, as great as a collaboration is, it's also great to have your own project. It's like almost two different parts of your brain. One, everything's getting bounced back and forth in the collaboration, and in the solo project, it's in your own mind, and that sort of story and visual problem solving is what my brain really, I love to spend time there. So it was great, you know, if I didn't have pages from Alex for digital pools, I had pages for Panopticon. So it just gives me a little bit more flexibility. I like to draw a page a day. I don't always do that, but in my mind, that's my schedule. And by a page a day, I mean, I'm either sketching out the page, I'm inking it, or I'm coloring it. And so really I have a finished page every 3 days, about 2 and change pages a week. And I pretty much keep to that schedule. Some days I do more if I have the time. Some days I do less, but the Panopticon, just in terms of scheduling, just allowed me to always have pages to work on. Yeah. It just works for me. Having a schedule and just knowing that I can kind of plan out my year, being like, I'm going to draw 100 pages this year. What are those 100 pages going to be? You know, 100-ish pages a year. And so, yeah, I think that answered.
It does. Yeah. I mean, and I think, you know, it's, again, I just kudos in the sense that, you know, it's hard enough to take on drawing an entire book. And then, you know, adding on top of that, you know, all the work that goes into crafting the story and, you know, figuring out how it flows. And again, not just doing it as a single issue, but really as the full, you know, kind of 3-act, you know, structure. You know, love a 3-parter, as you said, but it also fits very nicely into a traditional story structure. So it makes a ton of sense to do it that way. And I think it's a great way, in my opinion, to kind of introduce people to you as a creator that, you know, will then feed into, you know, all the other stuff that I know you guys are working on. So I'm excited about it. I have already backed the project.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
And I hope that people watching this will too. We will put some links into the descriptions, you know, every place that this video goes. But just to go back to the Kickstarter for a moment, like to actually go back to the page. So Matt, why don't you just kind of walk us through, like, you know, where this is Kickstarter.com. If you search for Panopticon, you're going to find the series. You'll see this lovely, I'm sure, very sweet red alien fuzzy gentleman here, giving, I don't know, an affectionate lift to this other character. So, I mean, give us a little more about, you know, kind of the story and, you know, who some of these characters are. And I guess, you know, as we're talking about kind of craft, well, how did you kind of find your way into the dynamics between the characters, or who these characters needed to be to, kind of drive the story, or probably the other way, how did these characters start to tell you what the story is?
So there's really 8 characters in the Panopticon. There's 7. Well, okay, there's 9. There's a character that we don't meet, who this prisoner replaces. This character named Pillory, and
Is this
she.
Hillary here?
No, that's our main character. We actually never meet Pillory. She's just talked about.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
That's our main character, and he's the one that gets shows up in this prison with no memory of how he got there. And then there are 6 other inmates. But then I think the final character is the actual Panopticon. It looms over them. It shares the space with them, and is active. I don't want to give too much away, but it's an active tower, and their relationship with it unfolds as the issues as the story goes along, and there are strict codes both made by the prisoners just so that they can survive in this space, but also there are codes that they have to follow, and if they don't, the tower reacts, I'll say. The Probably the first or second day when I was coming up with this story, I this concept of eat, sleep, shit, and bathe occurred to me, and that just seemed like, not only is the Panopticon this oppressive surveillance system and you don't know if you're being watched, but imagine only being able to do 4 things. That's not just incarceration, that's torture.
Yeah.
So they have to make a life just doing these 4 things. There's nothing else there. They can eat, they can sleep, they can shit, and they can bathe. So I needed a protagonist. I needed a well, the Panopticon itself, the prison, is the villain. But then I needed a bully, a walking, talking foil to Itzhak. And then the other cast of characters all sort of have their roles. There's comedic relief. There's the beta bully who's not quite the bully. You get the feeling that he wants to be the bully, but he just doesn't have what it takes.
Right.
And then there's a confidant that Itzhak, our main character, has, the only woman in the prison. Yeah, that's the cast of characters.
Yeah. And then, so I guess, like, give us a little setup here. So you've got a new inmate coming in who then has to kind of find their way in an already existing group and dynamic between all of these characters. And so I assume that's kind of, both the protagonist of the story, but also kind of a stand-in for us as the audience, kind of learning about this world, that we're coming into. And then, without spoiling it, like what would you say kind of the hook is, or the stakes are for, that character? We're coming into like you said, kind of a one-room play, and obviously there's all the dynamics between the roles of the characters. But what starts to kind of drive the story forward? What would you say to me going like, why should I sit down and
Well, like all great prison stories, and I kind of grew up on this, I realized as I was making this, The Rock, with Sylvester Stallone, and I think it was Sean Connery, and going way back, Escape from Alcatraz. There's a scene in Guardians of the Galaxy, which actually has a Panopticon. There's the prison in the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's number 2 or 3. Actually has a Panopticon, which I thought was very cool. But every prison escape story needs the character who sees the way out.
Yeah.
And understands that there may be a way to escape, where everybody else is beaten down, and whether it doesn't occur to them or they just don't have the willpower or the strength or the fortitude or the intelligence. None of them are looking to escape. And through, not to give too much away, but through a series of actions, or I get maybe inactions, Itzhak, our main protagonist, starts to explore the idea of escape.
Yeah.
And the other sort of MacGuffin, there's two MacGuffins. One is that he comes in and he's got an enormous glove on his right hand,
Yes.
kind of like a Hellboy glove, and he doesn't really know how this got there, but it's on his arm, and we don't know as the viewer what this big glove does. And so that's part of the mystery. We have to solve the mystery of the glove and how it ties into his relationship with the prison and his idea of escape. And then the other part, which is a theme that is going to run across the whole story arc, is there's a part of the prison. So the idea of the Panopticon is that you can see every corner. Well, this Panopticon, there's one cell, the farthest cell on the right, out of the 7 cells that are there. There's one cell that, just because of the angle of it from the tower, you can't see one corner of the cell. So it's just this little moment or little place in the Panopticon that's not visible. And the bully, that's his cell.
Yeah.
During the story, and he uses it as currency. It's called the Veil, and it's just a corner of the cell that he rules over and allows inmates time in the Veil. So it's basically just like this little psychological relief valve where they can just go sit in the darkness. They have to kind of scrunch up to fit in there, but they can sit in the Veil and just not be seen.
Yeah.
And he'll dole it out in like the time increments in the story are cycles and spans. So he'll give them a couple minutes to spend in the Veil, and it's supposed to be sort of like a release valve for their being constantly observed. So that idea of moments of not being observed is a larger story arc through the series.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Thank you.
show people a little bit more. So, the Kickstarter is live. You've built some cool kind of interactive components of this, which I want to touch on because I think it's incredibly cool. We're doing a couple of things, with the tools that we built into the Macroverse platform. But I think before we kind of get into the stuff on the Kickstarter page, which I think we should just do a quick walkthrough of, like, what can people get and kind of what are some of the stretch goals. I think you've got some really cool ones in there. So, I don't want to make this about me or about Macroverse. I want to make it about you. But we have launched the dark web page on the Macroverse platform. So for anyone that maybe hasn't been paying attention to what we've been building, and a lot of it's kind of been in semi-secrecy up until this point. So this is a little bit of an announcement as well. We've been launching a bunch of features on the Macroverse side of things. And what's very cool about that is we actually have now what we call producer channels. And so dark web is now one of those producer channels. So let me pull this up real quick just so we can show people what it looks like. And again, we'll put a link in here. But one of the things that we were able to do is give this book a preview on the channel so that you can actually go and read the first chunk of, would you call it the first chapter, the first, kind of the first.
It was written as the first issue, so it's first chapter, first 22 pages, first issue.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got the first chapter or issue. Hold on, I'm fumbling with controls while we're talking here. So we got the first bit that's available to read for free right now, digitally on the platform. There's a link on the Kickstarter page which actually opens up as well. So I'll show both of these things, and we'll put the links in the appropriate places. So this is what the dark web channel looks like on Macroverse. Very easy to go create a quick account. This is just macroverse.com, and then the dark web producers channel. And so, right here, we created a badge that you can claim, which is going to be a limited edition thing that you get for, kind of a way into signing up and creating an account. So you get a dark web comics badge. And then you can just dive right into the reader right from here, and makes it, a very nice experience for reading books.
Yeah.
I think we've, if I dare say so, I think we've built kind of the best comics reader that exists, in
Absolutely.
my very humble opinion.
Agreed. Yep.
And one of the cool things that you can do with this, which would be greatly appreciated, is you can also help share the word. So anywhere you find this player, you can also share this book, and this works on social media platforms. It works on a blog. It works on any website that takes an iframe. You can actually create an embedded player, which is kind of the YouTube player for comics that we built here. Or you can just copy the link and get this beautiful card, and then people are one click away from being able to jump in and read. And so I think one of the things that I care a lot about, and it's why we're doing all of this, is wanting to really create the tools and the infrastructure for projects like this, and for creators like you, Matt, to be able to get this work in front of people more easily. And so rather than trying to get you to go to another website, this is the idea, is like, let's put this in front of people where they already are, on X, on Instagram, wherever people are already exploring comics or finding material that they might be interested in. This is what my not my profile, but my kind of tester profile looks like. But you can see, we're starting to get quite a good amount of content on here. We do these things called quests and rewards, and so that ties into some of the stuff that Matt is doing here as well. But the main thing is just being able to dive in and read easily and quickly, and see if this is something that you resonate with. And if you do, then it's a great time to back the Kickstarter. So the Kickstarter is again live right now, and everybody should definitely go check that out. So this is the producer page on Macroverse, and then let's dive into a couple of the things that are actually also available from the Kickstarter page itself.
Yeah, I mean, while you're doing that, just I'll vamp for a second. That the Macroverse platform and the reader is just nothing short of amazing, and it really is the way to interact with stories. I was going to say read comics, but it's so much more than that. It's an experience that kind of keeps giving as you go. And the way we want to reuse our dark web page, Alex and I, that'll have digital pools and Panopticon and some other stories that we've done, is to connect with other people who like reading the same type of stuff that we have, and having a comment board. I could see down the line having people pitch stories or story ideas. I mean, Macroverse has a history with that too, which I don't know if we have time tonight to get into, but I'm all for all of that. So it really does feel kind of like a hub, where a place where we can house our creative stories, our shared stories, and then not only interact with readers, but also the other creators. So we're not so siloed. Macroverse, I think, has the potential to kind of be more of a community than the siloed artists making things.
I mean, that's definitely the intention. So it makes me very happy to have you guys be on here early and to be able to help build this stuff. I mean, again, we could do a whole other show or podcast about the history of all of this, but we've known each other for a while, and you kind of know some of the the I don't know. I was gonna say the deep dark secrets, but that's really overstating the machinations of it.
That time we killed a guy for his collection.
Panopticon is based on a true story. Tijuana. Yeah, I think it's just I think what's interesting is like what we've taken some turns with what we've been building over the past now 6 years, and there have been a bunch of different permutations of this, and I think what I'm so excited about right now is that I've been able to kind of bring it back to really the thing that had me go down this road building all this stuff to begin with, which is the thing I really ultimately care about, is that storytellers and creators have the things that can help not only put the work in front of people, but then frankly make enough money out of it to be able to keep doing it. Like that's the kind of baseline that we're trying to get to for people. And so combination of the tools that we're building and crowdfunding and other ways of connecting with people, direct to consumer, tying retail into that, like kind of thinking about the entire ecosystem, and from my point of view, kind of what the comics landscape looks like right now, where having a direct connection to the people that you're making work with and the people that you're kind of making work for, kind of are able to interact with each other and find the things that really resonate and support those things. And just the bottom line being that I think, the whole universe of media has become more and more accessible for independent creators, but it's very broken into different places. So, if you're doing Kickstarters over here, there's no very good, viable way to like connect with an audience in between those Kickstarters, or to keep people engaged in new material, or to create a, kind of ongoing relationship with people. Maybe you have a Patreon, but now you've got a completely different system that's, kind of doing this work over here. And yes, you can piece all those things together, but our ambition is to try to bring all those pieces holistically into one kind of hub, as you said, and then let some of those other things be spokes off of that hub, but be able to interact with those things in a way that gives people more fun, more engagement, more excitement, and ultimately for creators a way to sustain doing more and more of this kind of work. So if we're successful in that, my belief is it's a real win-win-win all the way around. And again, I'm now going off on a tangent, which I didn't intend for this show, but I think the goal is that there's a place for every participant in the comics ecosystem, from the creator to the fan to the online, eBay collector, seller, to traditional retail, to publishers and creators of all sizes, being able to utilize these tools. And actually, it sounds very utopian, but I actually really think this is true, that we really can build this in a way where all boats rise together. And so that's the goal, that's the ambition. But back to Panopticon, let's talk about miserable prison experiences instead. So you can get access to the first issue of the story for free right now on Macroverse, and then and just to be explicit about it, the intention and the request there is, go read the story. If you like it, go to Kickstarter and back the Kickstarter, so that you're getting the full book, and then also supporting Matt in being able to, well, it's not really, actually, honestly, it's not in being able to make the rest of it, because the rest of it is already being made. But we would like to see I would like to see you be rewarded for the time and effort and, kind of insane amount of work that it is to do 280 pages of comic books.
I mean, the goal of the Kickstarter is just to build a reader base of people who like to read things like this, and that's really the goal. The idea of making physical books, I love that too, and being able to print some books and have them for readers to put on a shelf. Is great. And then to also have some books to sell at conventions and on the website. That's the goal. Anything else is kind of gravy. But happy for all of it, happy for all of it.
Well, I assume, too, it's like the part of why I do like digital comics is it removes some of the barriers from the process of making the work to getting it in front of people to start to have that dialogue or relationship with an audience. But there is still no substitute for, having the physical thing in your hand. And so this is, again, a place where I think those two things are actually very symbiotic. They're not actually competitive. And so, I'm actually someone that wants both because I want to be able to pull this up on my, iPad when I'm traveling, but I also want to have, something beautiful on my bookshelf for the things that I resonate and care about. And so I just wanted to say, this is what you can say after you back the Kickstarter. Imagine yourself punching out this blue bag. It's mine.
It's mine.
So one other thing before I think we kind of start wrapping up, I think you built something really cool in here, which was a really wonderful surprise when you showed it to me. Which is, there's a backstory to this, which we'll leave as a mystery for another time. But you have built this character creator system into the project, and also has some cool utility within the world and within kind of even the Kickstarter itself. So I'll do this live so we can actually see what the process looks like. But if you come on to the Kickstarter page, you're going to see this section which says to create an inmate, make an inmate. And so the idea is that you have, so first of all, some exclusive character elements for the next few days, which is awesome. So if you're someone that likes exclusive things like I do, don't miss out on that.
Once they're gone, they're gone. They're gonna get the files will no longer be accessible to me. So you've got 3 days to use them, and then they're gone forever.
So I'm going to pull this up and actually, go through the process of making a character. And while I do that, why don't you tell people a little bit about just, how you're utilizing these characters? There's a couple of things specifically for the campaign, but then kind of the longer term goals or ambitions for, people that decide to create these characters.
Yeah. Yeah, so Eben's on Kickstarter now. There's a button right there that's a hyperlink to the Panopticon website and the character creator. And once you get to the website, it's pretty it's pretty right along the top bar. It just says create a character. So the character creator is just.
So sorry, just to jump in real quickly. This is so you from the Kickstarter, you'll click that button, and then it brings you to panopticoncomic.com, which is the kind of also kind of Panopticon. I don't know what you would say. It's the home base for all things Panopticon as well.
Yeah, so you can create an avatar. That's too small for me to read, but
here I think I can zoom in a little bit. How's that? It's better at least. So this is so I'll say, like, I'm here on the website, avatar creation, create a character in the world of Panopticon. This avatar will be yours. Create multiple alter inmates. The saved image will be your passport into more content, including maps, scripts, character bios, and lore building. This will also provide special perks as the Panopticon rolls out. So I'm going to click create an avatar. And then you got this kind of nice interface where I can choose the gender of my character. So I'll go with a female inmate, since I know there's only one other. I'll be pink.
Yep.
and then I think really fun to be able to go through and try on the different pieces and go like, oh, how do I want this, kind of fine tune the look of my inmate. So to me it's a really fun way of kind of finding yourself as a character in this world or in this universe.
Yeah, it's sort of the first step in the interaction with this world. You can, the prison has been around for centuries, maybe longer. So it's timeless. So there have been other inmates previous to the seven that our story revolves around, and so you're creating one of those. And the idea is that these are all characters ripe for storytelling. They're that you're creating. Oh, that's not supposed to do that. I'll have to fix that.
Well, it happens anytime you do a live demo. There's going to be
uh,
something.
Hopefully they're at least clickable. Yeah, well, they are clickable, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, that yellow bar are the 70 the body mods that are only available for the next 3 days, just the first 3 days of the campaign. So get them while you can, and then they're gonna be gone.
I got them.
Yeah. And I'll fix that this afternoon. It should have little PNGs of the body mods, but at least it's working, so that's good.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
This makes them even more exclusive.
So there's almost 1,000 different assets, between mouths and eyes and ears and heads and eyebrows. There's almost 1,000 different pieces. So statistically, it's impossible to make the same character twice. No one's going to make the same character, and I think that's cool. So we're basically, if you think about it like Star Wars, we're building the universe, one inmate at a time. And so the utility that these will have will, how did I word it on the Kickstarter?
I think just to start with, I think really cool idea that I think it's the first 100 people that create a character have their character printed in the book. So a lot of Kickstarters do some sort of a thank you page for backers, and it's always I think very very heartfelt appreciation for the people that help bring these projects to life. But I love the idea that it's not just your name, it's also your character that you've created.
Yeah. So the first, this is how I'm thinking about it. The first thing is that you get to save this and download it, and it becomes a piece of artwork that you and I kind of collaborated on together. I didn't draw that; I just drew all the pieces, and you assembled them. Mm-hmm. And you can download that, and it's yours to keep and use it as a wallpaper, or print it out, hang it on a wall. Profile picture, absolutely, yeah. So that part I just love, of collaborating on artwork. And then the second thing is the first 100 people to do this will get put into a grid and be on the thank you page as their character.
Cool.
Yeah. So when you save it, you get you get a little badge, and it's the first letter of your character's name, and then your number in the prison. And that gets kind of stamped onto your badge, and then once you do that, once you hit scan into the Panopticon, that'll open up. I'm calling it classified information, but it's just a little bit more lore building, and it's a little bit more. There's a map of the Panopticon world as we know it, and there's some character dossiers that you can look at. There's a script in there for part of the story, so you can see how I wrote it. Each one of those tiles has just a little bit of information about the world that you might not really get just by reading the comic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's your little character.
It's really cool.
I encourage people to make more than one too. There's no reason why you can't make more than one character.
Although you might want to say, I'm just suggesting this, but you might want to say, only one of your characters will get featured in the thank you page to make room for more people. But yes, just to make
so first 100 people to make a character. That's a good distinction.
Yeah.
Someone might spam it.
All 100 are mine. This is really cool though, Matt. Like it does bring it to another level. And so I think, like actually I quite like the character that I just made. So, not to put words in your mouth, but it's like I can start to, as I understand more and more of the story of the Panopticon, I can definitely start to imagine, who might this character, Cindy Lou, who might she be in this world, or who might she have been, in this world. Oh, still there? Uh-oh. Did we freeze? Oh no, Matt, are you still there? I'm not sure if I'm still broadcasting. It says we're recording. I'm not sure. All right. Well, if
there you are.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, we dropped out for a second. I'm not sure if we dropped out or if I was just saying hello. But what I said, I think right before I lost you, is I said not to put words in your mouth, but I think my character Cindy Lou, who I now quite like, it's not too hard for me to start to imagine, who might this character have been in this world, and as I understand more about the universe, who is she? Who was she? Like, how might she have, there's like a fan fiction part of my brain which starts to get activated.
I love it. Yeah. So I built in a randomizer into the website. So it's just a button. And when I hit it, it's going to pick one of the characters that people have made from the campaign, one of these inmates. And they're going to get drawn into the comic as a character who has I guess I'll say it out loud, who has a spectacular death in flashback. So I have the character's name, I have the scene actually drawn, but I don't have the face. So yeah, so that character will, I guess you could say, no, don't kill my character, and maybe I would pick another one.
Maybe you better choose more. I mean, no, don't say that. I think that you better make more.
That's the deal.
This is the deal, man. Yeah, you're on the chopping block if you make a character. That makes
it just know that you might get burned. Make two, because you're gonna get one burned.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. So that'll be kind of a fun thing that I can do live, towards the end of the campaign. People who pledge in the first 24 hours are going to be people who pledge and make a character in the first 24 hours will be gold tier. People that do it in the next 24 hours, the first 48 hours, will be silver tier. And the people that do it in the first 72 hours, that last day, will be bronze tier. And that will have utility later on, not only in the campaign, but it'll have utility in Macroverse too. So it pays to get in there and make a character.
And it's maybe worth explaining that just a little bit. So part of what we built into our system on Macroverse is what I think is part of the ongoing interaction between creator and reader, is the ability to do these kinds of things. So you can call it gamification, and it is, but it's also really intended to be genuinely fun, in that, I'm someone that likes to collect things. I am someone that, would show up early to try to get the long lightsabers as they came off the truck from Target or Walmart, or go to 3 different stores to try to find those kinds of things, or to get all the variant covers for a particular book. So that's in my DNA. That's not in everybody's DNA, but some of these things are kind of designed for people like me that like that kind of stuff. And so we've built ways of doing that into the platform, so that if you are someone that's like, I like the flex, I like the, the exclusive or the special thing, go create that character in one of these time frames, ideally today, And then what we'll be able to do is take that, literally that piece of artwork, bring it onto Macroverse and represent it in your collection with a designation that says, that you were in one of those tiers. And then the way we built our system is that we kind of have what I call very much inspired by Minecraft, because my kids play a lot of Minecraft. It's a kind of crafting table experience. And so Matt can say, if someone bought the, let's say the soft cover book from the Kickstarter, and they have a gold tier character, and they, signed up for a subscription or whatever other triggers, he wants to include in that recipe on Macroverse, that could then give everyone that did that a variant cover or a bonus character or special behind the scenes material or a video that's just him, going through the entire book as like a director's commentary. So, it's kind of all kinds of different things that could turn into, but the goal is to kind of plant all these seeds that become parts of these recipes that can be a way to kind of just create more fun things to do with the people that participate. And so, my kind of general thinking around all of this has always been, I want to build things where the more people engage, the more they get. And so, if you really are a super fan, like, let us give you the most stuff that we possibly can to reward you for that participation, for your support, for helping to spread the word, for just playing with the toys that we tried to make for you to play with. So that's where this will go, kind of over time past the Kickstarter campaign. We'll start to do more stuff on the platform side. But even in the meantime, it's like, I just had a ton of fun creating that character. I probably will make some more. And, being able to see that character potentially, although I should probably excuse myself because of our pre-existing relationship, but for someone to see their character, hideously, horrifically murdered in the pages of Panopticon is really cool. And, I think there's all kinds of ways that this can be, kind of extended into, the other books, into other parts of the universe. So I think it's one of those things where, there's the more successful we can help this world and this project become, the more stuff we're going to be able to do. So I think it really comes down to that, where it's like, if the, just funding the campaign is going to help get the books printed and into people's hands, but the more successful the campaign becomes, I know for, I'm speaking for you here, so forgive me for that, but it's like, I know that, from Matt's point of view and from Dark Web as an imprint and as a company, as a partnership, as a creative endeavor, the underlying goal there is just to be able to do more stuff. Tell more stories, make more comics. And so, the more support we can help them garner to do that, this is definitely not a like, hey, let's get rich, because no one in comics gets rich, really. But it is about, being able to make more stuff, do more work, and share that with more people. So,
Two things I'll just I'll throw out there is one is that we don't have to get into it today, except just to mention that I also made a mobile game, a little mini 10-minute mobile game that's on the Panopticon comic site. And if you play it and beat it, if you escape the Panopticon, I'll just say it. If you are able to escape the Panopticon, take a screenshot when you escape, and there will be utility for that too. So it'll cool. be, it's just selfish. I just want to see some people beat it, but I have some ideas of how that can factor in later on in the campaign. So when you pledge and you beat it, in the updates and on socials, we could talk more about how that utility plays.
Well, I guess that is another thing to kind of maybe be explicit about, is that, if you've backed a lot of Kickstarters, you know this, but if you haven't backed a lot of Kickstarters, you might not know this, that when you back a Kickstarter campaign, you essentially get a private channel with the creator of that campaign. And so some of these things, which are really meant to be rewards or additive, to the people that back the campaign and support the project, will come through that. So it's like by backing the Kickstarter, you end up in the backer exclusive messages, and those messages will be, some of where some of this early stuff gets delivered. So it's like you'll be able to, let's say, share your character in the comments or on social media or whatever, but then Matt will be able to, send a message to the people that back the campaign directly, which says,
Yep.
Here's the next thing that you guys can participate in, or here's the next thing that's been unlocked in the campaign that I can now, kind of give you access to. So there's that kind of fun of this, and a lot of, and believe me, a lot of Kickstarter campaigns are really very wonderfully just purely about like, great, we funded this, here's how we're going to the printer, and those kinds of updates are great, and I'm sure will be part of this as well. But part of the intention here is to make this more fun and interactive through the whole course of the campaign. But especially here in these early days when it matters so much that people jump in. So if you're seeing this and you're thinking about it, like, do it today, do it tomorrow. It actually makes a huge difference with the visibility on Kickstarter that people back early.
Kickstarter likes early meeting your funding goal early, and it likes early activity. So this is not just shilling for the project. It really is. It just kind of makes us more visible in Kickstarter's eyes. They're so that's helpful. If you're gonna back it sooner rather than later. And
let's just say
that.
Do it today.
Do it today. Gold tier, baby.
Wherever you're seeing this video, do it today.
How many times in life can you say that you're gold tier? Well, this is one of them, But that, just to underline what you said, like that's for when Macroverse did their pre-code horror campaign on Kickstarter earlier in the year, I guess last year. It was so much fun. Those updates, getting an update. You guys were great about updating almost every day. And I really looked forward to hearing what was going on in the process. And I really felt like part of it, even though it was being passive, just watching the process unfold. And I want to, this is not as ambitious a project as pre-code horror, but I do want people to be part of the process, and it's fun. It's just a fun sort of thing to follow along for a couple months.
And I can say with a great degree of certainty, this will go much more simply and smoothly.
Yes, that's the plan.
But I think the point is just, there is, it's a genuine thing for me, and I know it's a genuine thing for you, that, a big part of why we do this is it is about the connection with the people that enjoy the work, and having a dialogue, with those people. And so, I think, there is not just an invitation, but actually a desire to hear people's reactions, and to, have people be able to kind of come along, not just as passive observers, but as active participants, in the process. And I think, what my feeling, and correct me if you feel differently, but my feeling is that because this is going to be a 3-book series in relative short order, you're also opening the door to kind of find your way into the world in this one, but then being able to really build on that in Act 2 and Act 3, where, I could easily imagine it's like, you're going to have a group of people that are engaged in Act 1. And, as you're kind of then moving into Act 2, it's like, be fun to kind of give some behind the scenes, early sneak peeks, or, other kinds of things where, that group kind of gets, the deluxe treatment, if you will.
I already started with the updates. Everybody who pre-notified, who got the pre-notification for the launch, I've already started the updates, and there already is a little teaser for the next book. So absolutely 100%. And maybe we can end on this, because I think it's worth saying.
Yeah.
Not only will that character die, but and
Horrifically.
they'll die spectacularly, but and I don't want to give too much away, but it is the first moment that we meet their gods.
Mm.
And I'll just leave it at that. It's, it is the pivotal moment
Yeah.
where things where if you were to put a hinge in the story, it's the scene, it's the hinge of the story.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
it's it's not nothing.
Not just a background player. This is a
No, they're not
critical
eating
role.
soup. They're not
Yeah.
eating soup at the cafe.
Exactly. Now, I mean, again, I'm throwing this out there for the first time. You've got this, kind of role mechanic, or the spin the wheel essentially for who the featured character will be. But I suspect that if people make characters and submit them and go through this process, there may be other opportunities over the course of the next 2 books, to just throw somebody in the background here, or put somebody in a different scene, just as bits and pieces wherever it makes sense. So I can't promise that, obviously, because I'm not the one reading the book, but
and much more. But I don't want to. Yes, I'll just say yes.
All
yes,
right, so
with a couple exclamation points.
Tease exclamation point.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're kind of wrapping up here, but Matt, I'm a huge fan of yours as a person, as a creator. I think it's exciting to me to see. I think you showed me a little bit of Panopticon, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago at this point. So, it's very cool to see this materialize in a form that people can really get a hold of it, I guess, mentally right now, and physically in very short order. And
thank you.
Just to be a part of the journey, because I think since we've met, it's been very fun for me to see your evolution as a creator, as an artist, as a storyteller, and taking this next step where it really is kind of, as we said at the beginning, you got 1 foot in the collaboration, the magic of collaboration, and 1 foot in the undistilled vision, here with Panopticon. So, if I have anything to say about it, everyone that, has the opportunity, pick up the book, give it a chance, help Matt, deliver on his ambitions for this, and to keep making more, and just, I think, to reward people that are doing great work and really coming at it from, in my opinion, the right place. So that is my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. And appreciate you jumping on and having this conversation, and I hope people do go and check out the campaign and consider backing it today.
Yeah. So Alex and I are actually going to do another live stream tonight, and we may have a special guest then too. We'll have to see if you're not sick of us by now. But we're gonna talk a little bit more about Panopticon and dark web comics and digital pools, and just kind of springboard off of this conversation and open up a little bit more of everything Alex and I are building together, and a little bit more about Panopticon too. So. That'll be on if I could just throw out some socials.
Yeah, please.
It's going to be on at darkwebcomics_, and you can find us there tonight
on Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah.
Instagram, it's darkwebcomics_. Like that's your profile name, right?
That's the profile name. I would do it. I have also at Panopticon Comic, and that's another place that we could do it, but I'm just not great at the live stuff, so I usually leave Alex to do that. But if you follow panopticoncomic.com, if you follow at Panopticon Comic and you follow at darkwebcomics_, then you'll get the notification that we're going live tonight at 6:00.
Perfect. On Insta. On Instagram,
And then
Matt, anywhere else people can connect with you directly? Like, where's the best place outside of the Kickstarter if they just want to say hi or ask a question or whatever?
If you can email me at hello@panopticoncomic.com. If it has anything, if it has, something to do with these comics stories, also mattstevensart@gmail.com. And there's also a place on the website, panopticoncomic.com. So yeah,
All right.
I'm easily accessible. I check my DMs on Insta too, but not as frequently as email.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. I will definitely be following along and doing everything I can to help people find Panopticon over the next couple of weeks over the next few weeks as the campaign continues. And once again, last word from me for today, go back the campaign today.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great. Thanks, Eben. This
You
was
got
fun.
it, man.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, I am ending.